Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. Today when I'm filming this, it is the last day of March, so we are doing a March reading wrap up of all the books I read in March. I read a total of 11 books this month and I was off to a really good start. I read a bunch of shorter books this month, like I had many that were under 300, but I also had many that were over 500, so I was like kind of at the two extremes. At the beginning of the month, I was reading a lot of books. By like the 15th, I had already read like 8 books, and I thought I was going to be able to keep that pace up, but I ended up not being able to keep that pace up, so it kind of slowed down as we got toward the end of the month. And overall, I think the books that I read were kind of, again, like the two extremes. Like I had a lot of books that were like 2 stars. I also had a book that was I gave less than 1 star because I really hated, we'll get into that in a second, but I did have some books that I really enjoyed that were over 4 stars. No 5-star books, but I did have some that were over 4. So really excited to share those with you. So let's get into it. The first book that I read in March was Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. I actually really read the majority of this in February. I just happened to finish it March 1st. Finished this on March 1st. This was the final book in the Shadow and Bone series. And if you watched my January, February wrap up, you'll see me give my opinions on the Shadow and Bone series, the first 2 books. I will say now, looking back, I think I might have been just a little bit over critical of those books. I don't think they were as bad as I made them out to be, because I was hating on them quite a bit, and I apologize. I still do stand firm on they're nowhere near as good as Six of Crows, and I started another Grishaverse series. I'll get into that in a bit, but I still stand firm that Shadow and Bone is the worst in the Grishaverse, but this 3rd book in the series was definitely the best in the series. I gave this one 3 stars, so solid. 3 stars is a solid rating, and I definitely think that we can see that her writing improved a lot in this book. I'm not gonna lie, again, it's been a month since I read this book. Don't really remember too much of it. It's kind of all the plot of like book 1 and book 2 and book 3 are all kind of jumbling together in my head. But if you wanted to hear my sort of very strong opinions on the first 2 books, check out my January and February reading video. This one I thought was the best in the series, thought it was solid, gave it 3 stars. I think if you're going to do the Grishaverse, you either have to read Shadow and Bone first and then just know that it's going to get better in Six of Crows and King of Scars, or you have to read Shadow and Bone strictly for like political climate, like as like just to set the scene for the world, because it does give you a lot of backstory as to why everything is the way it is in Six of Crows. The actual plot and characters don't do it for me. However, if you're going to read King of Scars, you do 100% have to read Shadow and Bone beforehand, or you're just not going to know what's going on. Like you'll miss out on a lot if you haven't read Shadow and Bone before King of Scars. And also Six of Crows. King of Scars you need to read last. Anyways, moving on, the second book I read was Dogs of Summer. This one was so heavily anticipated for me. I was so excited to read this book because I had seen a lot of people that I really look up to and like respect their opinions say that this book was really good. It was described as a literary fiction book about these 2 10-year-olds in Spain were best friends, and one of them was kind of developing romantic feelings for the other one, and it was just talking about like childhood and their kind of journey through that, and that sounded great. Sounded like it would be a 5-star read for me, so obviously I picked it up as soon as I could, and this is the worst book I have read in a while. Oh my goodness. I think if you enjoyed Paradise Rot, you would enjoy Dogs of Summer, and if you know, you know. Paradise Rot, I hate Paradise Rot. I'm sorry. I know that people love it. It's like the weird girl lit fic. I can't do it. When you have a book that is less than 200 pages and you somehow manage to bring up urination every 3 pages, what are you doing? What are we doing? And Dogs of Summer felt like that. Like it felt like the same vibes as Paradise Rot, just like younger. And instead of bringing up like piss every couple pages, they're bringing up shit. They're literally just talking about poop. What are we doing? I couldn't do it, and I know people are going to say, well, you're just not mature enough, you're just not blah, 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 whatever. If you like this book, no shame, I don't hate. I did not like this book. I gave it 0.5 stars. I would not recommend at all. I wish I could get back the time I had from reading this book. If it were longer, I 100% would have DNF'd it, but it was really short, so I just told myself I had to finish it. Never again. Absolutely not. Moving on from that, the next book I read was The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. This is one that I'd actually never heard of before I picked it up. I was just in Barnes & Noble and I saw the cover and I thought the cover was really pretty. Flipped it over, read the back, said something about feminism, said something about men suck, said something about we're trying to suppress women in society, and it was fantasy. Immediately picked it up. Sounded great, sounded right up my alley, and it was good. It wasn't anything great. I definitely think it was kind of slow, especially like towards the end. I thought the first half was really good, and then it kind of just kept getting slower and slower, and less is happening and all this. One thing that I didn't like is I always hate the trope where we have a woman who's like, I don't need a man, I don't like men, I don't want a husband, I don't care, I don't want a husband, especially when we're in like way back in the past, like it's a historical, and this book is set historically. It's set during while they're writing the Oxford English Dictionary, and I always think with a book like that that's set in the past, especially when there is a woman who says she does not want to get married, it's the last thing she wants. She hates the concept of marriage. She's not going to fall in love with a man, like it's not, and then she ends up falling for a man and getting married. It's going to make me mad every single time, and this book did that. Sorry, spoiler, maybe, but this book, she does end up falling in love with a guy after saying that she's never going to get married. Marriage is not for her, and that made me mad, especially because it's supposed to be like a feminist book, and obviously you can get married to a man and still be a feminist. This is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that kind of plot line always annoys me a little bit, but I'm hating, so let me restart and let me guys tell you what this book was actually about. It follows our main character, whose name I literally forgot. I'm completely blanking out what her name was right now, but her dad works writing the Oxford English Dictionary, and they're like taking in submissions from people of words to put in the dictionaries, and our main character realizes that there are some words that are not being included in the dictionary, and these are specifically words that refer to women and women's experiences, and she sets out to collect all of these words and create her own dictionary of lost words. Again, cool concept. I thought it could have been better, but I didn't think it was bad. I rated it 3.25 stars. After reading it, I looked it up online. I saw a lot of people give it really good reviews. So I would say, yeah, I'll recommend it, but it wasn't like, it's not going to be a personal favorite for me, and it wasn't particularly memorable. But it did have some good quotes, and it did definitely have parts that I enjoyed. So the next book I read is We Could Be Rats by Miss Emily Austen. And if you know me, you know that I absolutely adore Emily Austen. I will read literally anything she writes. She has never written a bad book in my eyes. I love all of her books. Everyone in this room will someday what did I just say? Everyone in this room will someday be dead is definitely my favorite of hers, and a favorite of all time. 5 stars. Absolutely adore that book. In my video where I was ranking all my 5-star reads, that one was in there. Go watch that if you haven't, by the way. But yeah, I adored this book. I was so close to giving it 5 stars, but I just didn't, because I don't think it's the same bar as my other 5-star books, but it was really incredible. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. If you've ever read Emily Austen before, she writes about very touchy subjects. She writes a lot about depression and anxiety, but she writes it in a way that kind of is very like satirical, very like almost like it's like dry humor. I feel like it's very relatable for someone who's just kind of like monotone, like not really caring about anything. Like it can be relatable, but I feel like if you don't get it, you're gonna be like, what is up with this chick? This is weird. But I personally absolutely adore her writing style. The first half, maybe even like 2/3 of this book, is written as drafts of our main character's suicide note, which is an interesting concept, but it doesn't read sad. It just reads as like, okay, this is it, the end, bye, and we learn about our main character through what she says. And then the second half kind of follows her sister after like reading the note and trying to figure out like what's going on in her sister's life. Again, if you've read Emily Austen books before, they kind of are where like not a lot happens and not a lot gets resolved. It's just kind of we're there for the day-to-day experiences, and if you're not into that, you're not going to like it. I personally absolutely adore it. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I would recommend. If you want something that's a lot of character, not a lot of plot, Emily Austen, go for her, babe. Next book I read is another one that I was disappointed by, and that is Open Throat by Henry Hoke. This is one that I saw in a lot of people's like best books of 2024, and I was super excited to read it because so many people adored it and were raving about it. I don't get the hype. I'm sorry, I don't. It's written from the perspective of a queer mountain lion who lives behind the Hollywood sign. I could not follow what was going on, I'm not gonna lie. didn't know what was going on. I didn't like the way it was written. It was written almost like how you would text somebody. Like there was no capitalization, no punctuation. Everything was like each sentence was like a paragraph, and I couldn't do it. Didn't like it. It's very short, so I was able to read it just like in one day, one sitting, just get through it. But I didn't enjoy it, and I gave it 2 stars, which maybe was a little generous. Maybe I should have gone even lower, but I don't know. If you enjoyed this book, I'm curious to know what you enjoyed about it and what you got out of it, because so many people thought this book was so great. And I'm, again, not hating, no shame at all. I just genuinely want to know what you thought was great about this book, because it must have went right over my head. The next book is actually one that I've already talked about on here. I already made a video giving my rating of this book, and I just yapped about this book for like 30 minutes, and that is Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. If you haven't read Legendborn yet, I don't know what you're doing. If you're a fantasy girly, go get it, read it. It's incredible. Oathbound, I gave 4.75 stars. I think it was the best book in the series so far, and I'm really excited for the 4th book whenever it comes out, and I actually need it to come out really soon because I need to know what happens to these characters. I'm not going to talk about this one a lot because I made a whole video already talking about it. So if you want to see my thoughts, my more in-depth thoughts, go check out that video. But that video, warning, is not spoiler free by any means. It's totally spoilers. And if you haven't read the series yet, don't watch that video because you're just going to get it spoiled for yourself. But I will say, yes, I definitely recommend the series. Go buy it right now. The next book I read is another one that's been really, really popular recently, and that is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. I did enjoy this book. I thought it was good. I knew going into it, because I had been told already, like, if you're going into this trying to treat it like a mystery, you're trying to figure out why these women are in this position, what happened, what brought them here, what's going on in this world, you're not going to get what you want out of it, and that is true. Nothing really gets resolved in this book at all. Nothing gets solved. We don't answer any of the major questions like why, what, how. It's not going to tell you. You're not going to figure it out, and you just have to be okay with that. And so knowing that, I really did enjoy the book. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was quite as good as I wanted it to be. I was expecting it to be a 5-star. It wasn't a 5-star, but it was really good. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I would definitely recommend. If you don't know, it follows these 40 women who are locked in a bunker, and they don't know why they're there. They don't know what's happened to their family. They all have like blank spots in their memory and can't really remember how they got here exactly, but they just know that they're being held captive here. And all of the women are like adults except for one who is a child and has been in this bunker since as long as she can remember. And the story is written in this child's perspective, and it kind of goes to show just all the things you don't know when you don't get to go out and experience the world, because she's been in captivity her entire life, and there are just things she doesn't have the words to describe. There are emotions and stuff that she just doesn't understand, and she doesn't know when the women talk about their old lives, and they talk about love, and they talk about, their children, and they talk about all of these things, and she just doesn't know what they're talking about. It's definitely a very emotional journey, and there are definitely a lot of really good quotes in this book. Again, I gave it 3.5 stars, and I would recommend. The next book I read was Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. This is another one I was really, really excited for, and then it didn't end up being as good as I hoped it would be. The plot follows our main character, who is in a super religious family. She's super religious in a super religious community in the super religious town, and her town is kind of famous for having the world's most effective conversion therapy. And then randomly one day our main character just starts vomiting up bugs, and she doesn't know what's going on, and her family is like telling her, acting like it's normal, acting like nothing's wrong, and she is so confused and she doesn't know what's going on. So she kind of sets out on this mission to figure out what's going on, and she starts realizing that it's linked to this conversion therapy place, and that there's so much stuff going on like beneath everything that she didn't even realize, didn't even know about. And so she kind of goes and tries to like solve this mystery and save the people that are at this conversion therapy camp. It didn't go in the direction I thought it was going to go at all. But it was good, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really like the first half. I liked it towards the end a little bit better. I rated it 2.5, which is like dead center. I don't know. I just kind of feel neutral about it. I can't say I really, really liked it, but I also can't say that it was a bad book. So we'll keep it there at 2.5. Would I recommend? Probably not. But if you really want to, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. Maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did. And then that brings us to our next book, King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I talked about this a little when I was talking about Shadow and Bone, Ruin and Rising. Yes, I really liked this one a lot. I think I rated 4.25, which is the same thing I rated Six of Crows. And then I rated Crooked Kingdom 5 stars, and I'm hoping to get the next book really soon and read it, and maybe it'll be 5 stars, who knows. But I really do love the characters in this one. Again, that's something I love with Leigh Bardugo in Six of Crows, is how she wrote the characters and was able to make them so lovable. This is another one. I really like the characters a lot in this one, And spoiler, if you are planning on reading Six of Crows and you haven't yet, it's not a spoiler for King of Scars because you find this out in King of Scars in like the second chapter. But if you are planning on reading Six of Crows, this is a spoiler for Six of Crows. But if you've already read Six of Crows, you're not planning on reading Six of Crows. Nina, who is the main character in King of Scars and is also a main character in Six of Crows, is with Matthias, and Matthias ends up dying at the end of Crooked Kingdom. And I'm scared to say this, but Matthias was my least favorite character in Six of Crows, and obviously I was a little upset when he died, but, whatever. I didn't think him and Nina were really that good together, I'm not gonna lie. Didn't really like them together. And in this book, there was a lot of Nina talking about him dying, obviously, because they were together and she loved him, but also Nina meets this other girl. Her name is Hannah. Hannah is so awesome. I love Hannah, and I want Hannah and Nina to end up together. I don't know if they end up together or not, but they definitely have a lot of tension, and I really do need them to end up together, not just because I want everyone to be a lesbian, but also because they're really cute and they have a lot of tension. But whenever I was telling my friend about this, she was like, "What? You're just forgetting about Matthias? You just want Nina to forget about Matthias?" Honestly, yes, but like, no. I know my girl needs time to cope, to get over him. Whatever, it's hard to get over someone when they're dead. I know, I get it. I just really want Nina and Hannah to end up together. I'm sorry, I do. But anyways, I really did enjoy this one. Gave it 4.25 stars. We'll definitely be continuing the series, and I would recommend, definitely. The next book I read was Feybound. This is one that I kind of got on a whim at Barnes & Noble, because it's one that I had heard of, had seen people talking about, but I didn't have it on the list of like books I wanted. Like, it wasn't one that I actually like ever looked into or bothered like really like wanting. Like, it was just there in the back of my mind, and when I saw it in person, I the cover's really pretty, and so I just decided to grab it. And I knew that it was sapphic, and I knew that it was a fantasy, and I was like, okay, that's good. I like this stuff. That's stuff I like, so maybe I'll enjoy it. I did not. I really didn't like this book. I'm sorry. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews. I see people say they hated it. I see people say they loved it. I have to say I'm more on the hated it side. I didn't give it like 0. I gave it 2 stars. So, not the worst thing ever. Not even the worst thing this month. But it was bad. And if to put into like perspective how much I disliked this book and how much I just didn't care for this book, I brought this book with me to the beach, kept it in my bag, set my bag down on a boat. Someone on the boat splashed my bag with water. My bag got soaked. Everything in my bag was soaked and ruined. And this book was in my bag. So the book is soaked and ruined, and I had to throw it away because it was not salvageable. I didn't care. I wasn't sad about it. I wasn't torn about it. I had already finished it. I just finished it that day. And I wasn't upset that I had to throw it away because I didn't have any sort of connection to it and I didn't enjoy it. I really liked the writing style at first. I thought the author had a really nice way with words. She wrote very like melodically, very like almost like poetry. And I really like that in books. I know some people don't like flowery language. I do. I enjoy it. And I did like her writing style throughout, but I didn't like the plot at all. I didn't like the characters at all. I didn't really like the magic system. I just didn't like anything that was going on, and it just didn't make me want to keep reading. I didn't care about what was happening at all. So that's why I gave it 2 stars. Would I recommend? No. Sorry. And then the last book I read was Our Wives Under the Sea, another one that's super, super popular. If you haven't heard of it, I don't know what you're doing. This one is a sapphic horror book. Our main character's wife, her job is to go really deep in the ocean and study the life down there, bring back samples for scientists, whatever. And she has just gone on a mission that was supposed to take only 2 or 3 weeks, but it ended up taking 6 months instead. And when she comes back, she is no longer the same. And we have her wife trying to figure out what happened on this mission, and we simultaneously have the point of view of the woman who went under the sea. We have her point of view of what happened down there, and it kind of unfolds very slowly, and we find out what happened while she was down there. This is another one that it's like, it doesn't get fully resolved. We don't ever know exactly what happened, why this happened, and it also definitely has that like fantasy element to it because it's, horror, but it's kind of like, I don't know. But I ended up giving it 3.25 stars. I think the love in this book, you can really see how much these 2 women love each other, and I do think that's really nice to read about. The overall plot, I thought I was engaged. I was definitely wanting to read more, but the ending didn't feel particularly well fleshed out for me. I didn't think it was a great ending, but I didn't think it was a bad ending. Would I recommend? Yes, I would. It's short, and you might really enjoy it, so I would recommend. And that is all of the books that I read in March. I am currently reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but I'm not going to finish it today, so it's not going to be in my March wrap-up, but I felt the need to share that with you guys because I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm about 200 pages in so far. I really, really enjoy it. So I'm excited to talk about that next month. for my wrap up. But anyways, let me know if you've read any of these books, what your opinions are. If you had a best book or a worst book you read in March, let me know. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.